This one, this is a big one. This is a full build from scratch using NamokiMods MM300 case with a pilot's bezel on it. And the goal of this build is to make an homage of a white Grand Seiko using a Sari 55 dial. It's a gorgeous dial, and I've been trying to get my hands on one of these for months, and I was finally able to get hold of one, and I was even able to find some really nice Grand Seiko style hands on AliExpress, and they're really good value for money. You'll see what I mean when we go through the build. First of all, I want to thank NamokiMods for sending out all the case parts for this. They sent out the crystal, the case, the bezel, the bracelet, the case back, all but the hands, dial and movement. And I contacted them and asked them if they wanted to do another collaboration, since it's been a year since I did the whatever I called it. But I did a watch in the MM300 case with a grey 62 mass dial, which was then later turned into a 2017 style 62 mass in the video that I called The Big Swap. So if you're interested in that, go take a look, because it is a beautiful watch. That MM300 case that they have it's so good, and the fact that it takes regular SKX parts means it was prime for this build, because I toyed with the idea of doing this with an MM200 case, maybe even an aftermarket one for a budget-friendly option, but I just couldn't find a pilot's bezel for an MM200. I think you'd have to have one made. I didn't dive deep to try and find one, but I did have an SKX 007 one, and when I laid it on top to have a look, it was just way too big on the inner diameter. It was just rattling around. There was nothing for it to actually friction press onto. So I thought the best option is the MM300 case with all SKX 007 parts. So that is what this video is all about. This white homage to a Grand Seiko, like, you know, the birch, or more probably the older Grand Seikos from several years ago that were much more plain. They didn't have very textured dials. It was a sunburst look, and I'll save the close-ups for the reveal at the end. But if you can see it here, it's a stunner. So let's get stuck into this, because this is a good one. So let's get the NH36 in the movement holder. Let's confirm that it works. Yeah, that's working. Yeah, it's pretty good. Then we'll put the dial on here. We're not going to be doing anything with dial feet today. We're going to be going for the default 3 o'clock crown position of this dial. There we are. That is a thing of beauty. That is a gorgeous dial. Really is. Let's get these hands on. Look at that. Nice. Right, let's test it. Oh my gosh. It ticks over really early. Right. Okay. I get you. That's it. is absolutely spot on. That lines up perfectly at the 6 o'clock. So what's that like? 3 minutes to. Given that lines up at the 6 o'clock perfectly, and that spacing is almost perfect. That's fine. There we are. It's ticking away. So we'll just wait for that to go round to the 12 o'clock point, and then I can check the spacing. That's not bad. That is not bad at all. Nice. There. Don't see any more marks on it. Yeah, so about between maybe 3 or 2 minutes to. I've done worse, and you cannot argue with that spacing. Look at that. That is awesome. I love the sunburst on that dial as well. And these hands look superb. I'm loving the polished edges and the brushed middle. That is gonna look so cool. Let's roll it over to 10 o'clock. And then that way I can change the date, make sure that's still functioning. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Pretty good, isn't it? This is just a dry Q-tip here, nothing on it. And I'm just applying very gentle pressure here, not much at all. There's a little mark there between the 8 and the 9 that won't come off. It's might be an imperfection with the dial though, so there. Anyway, you don't want to scratch it with the cotton, so you want to be very, very gentle when you do it. Okay, that is ready to go in the case. So let's get the case assembled and then we can put it in. Make sure that this is kept protected while we wait. Pop that in there. So I guess we'll start with the case. This beautiful MM300 case with a 3 o'clock crown position. Oh my goodness, I love these MM300 cases. MM200, MM300, just those lines are just beautiful. And then to go on top of that, polished pilot's bezel. I'm sure that I'm going to dirty it up with my fingerprints at some point, but I'm trying my best not to do that at the moment. I think that's going to look awesome. That's going to give it that dress watch look. There you are. There, that's better. Bloop. Okay. Then, to go on the back of that, pretty much see it in the bag here, a lovely, slim open wide case back. That's going to be really nice because that's going to show off the movement. And of course, you might think, well, the NH35 is not that interesting to look at least some people do. I've actually seen comments online of some people saying, you know, the NH35, I love the steel case back because it's just an NH35 in there. And I don't know. I don't care what kind of movement it is. I enjoy looking at the workings of it, even if it doesn't have any fancy flourishes on it. However, this one is going to have a little bit of a fancy flourish. This is a beautiful gold rotor here. Although I'm sure it's just gold plated or gold coloured, but it's got lovely texture on there, as you can see. I don't want to smudge this one up, so I'm going to leave it in the bag until I put it on the movement. I was eager to try these out ever since NamokiMods put them in their store, so I'm glad that they were able to send this one over to use for this build. And of course, signed crown, got that lovely S on there. Just a regular coin edge crown. I think it's going to look nice on there. And a piece of flat sapphire crystal. This is it's just a plastic chapter ring. It was about, I think it was like £5. It wasn't very expensive, but it's one of those ones with the nice detailed markers on it between the larger markers. I think this one's going to look really cool because the Sari and the Saab watches have the nice detailed chapter rings, and so I went for this one. That being said, I do have one of these more plain chapter rings, just the same plastic one, white with simpler markers on it, and I'm going to show you what both of these look like in the build. So it does mean pushing out the crystal to do it, but I just want to show you what they both look like, especially since the Grand Seikos use a simpler one. So yeah, going to show you both of these. And then of course, to go on the case, we've got the matching bracelet that NamokiMods made. This one actually has the little NamokiMods logo on the clasp there. That'll finish it off because I'm a bracelet guy. I'm not a fan of leather straps. They're not as comfortable on my wrist as a custom fit bracelet. And of course, we've already seen me put this together. This is going to go in there now. It's finally ready. Now that the parts have arrived, this can finally go in, since it has been several weeks since I finished this. So those are the case parts. I want to thank NamokiMods for sending these in. I'll put affiliate links down in the description so that if you want to get any of these parts, maybe you want to do a similar build, I'll put all links to all these parts, the case, the bezel, the case back, the movement rotor, the crystal, the crown, and the bracelet, all in the video description. Let's get this put together. Let's clean these finger cots. I like to reuse finger cots if I can. And so I just give them a wash with a wet wipe or some IPA. Let's get the chapter ring, because we're going to have to file this down if it doesn't fit in the case. I'd love for it to fit in the case, but I don't think it's going to. I can already tell this notch is way too big. Yeah, look at that. It's too wide. Is this a file? Yeah, it is. This is an old nail file. Literally, this is like, this thing's like 20 years old. I wouldn't be surprised if this nail file is from the early 2000s. This was stuck down the side of a sofa cushion for like 10 years. Oh well, this doesn't have any texture on the sides, so I might be able to file this. I'll just do a little bit at a time and then, you know, test fit it in the case. The less material I have to take off, the better. Apologies if the focus isn't always perfect. I'm using a 2-camera system, and this 4K webcam that I've got is manual focus. But it's C-mount lenses, which means I can change the lenses on it. I'm using the stock lens at the moment, but you know, I have got other lenses for it that do look quite nice. They just zoom in way too much. Would be fine for a shot like this, but if I want to zoom out, or I have to have the camera much higher up, which means I can't reach it to adjust the focus. Right, let's try that. If you want that to be centered as well, I need to take a little bit more off this side, this bit. So, wish I didn't have to do this. Wouldn't it be nice if I could just put this in, press the crystal on? This is definitely working though, this file. The diamond file will file into the flat edge of this, and that's what it did with the other one. Fortunately, it didn't cause any problems, but you know, that's it's still not something I was pleased with. Does it sit flush? It needs to be flush. It looks like it. I'll have a look at it with the movement to see if it's aligned properly, and then if it is, I'll push the crystal in. So, let's get our movement and put it in, which means we're going to need the milk bottle lid, because of course we are. That's how I move. I don't have the movement cushion, so I use this thing. Okay. It works really well because it doesn't scratch anything, because it's just a soft piece of plastic. Got it! Haha! Okay. Place that on there. Let's make sure that's in all the way. There we are. It's aligned at the 12 o'clock, but not the 6 o'clock. How bizarre! And I didn't do any dial feet stuff with this, I just put it straight in. Well, the only thing to do is to file the... It's a good thing I tested this. I'll just have to file the thing until I can adjust where the chapter ring sits. So, anyway, I'm just going to keep repeating what I'm doing, taking this chapter ring out, filing it down until I've got it to a point where it aligns properly with the dial. So... yep, I'll cut to that and we'll see where we go from there. Honestly, I think that's as close as I'm going to get it. I filed the little end piece down on it to almost nothing. It was literally like a quarter of the size that it originally was, and it was very much lopsided to allow me to rotate it all this way. And rather than remove the movement and screw up the alignment of the chapter ring, I'm going to risk just putting the case back on, putting in the gasket and pressing that crystal in. So I'm just going to get some Rotor, clean the inside of the thing around the chapter ring, since I do see a few particles in there. Just there. It's looking nice already. It's going to look superb when it has the bezel on there. Going to use this clear crystal gasket for this one. If this gasket, if I have put it in upside down, at least I've got a spare here, but let's hope I don't have to use it. I'll get the crystal out next and just balance it on. Are there bits on the bottom of it already? Honestly, at this point, I'll just clean them out once they're in the case. So we just gently place this on the top here. Place it in. I'm using a really big die on here to make sure that it goes down evenly. Here we go. Then I'm just gonna bring that up, flip it around 180, because it hasn't gone on straight. Why would it? That has straightened it out though, that's equalised it. It's looking pretty straight. Not too shabby. And the chapter ring is nicely aligned with it. Okay, right. Let's put the bezel on it. Still got the wide shot here so you can see me placing it on. I'm literally kneeling down at the desk here. This is ridiculous. Let's sit back down. And no matter how many times I push in crystals, it always gets me on edge. Okay. That's a nice bezel, isn't it? Yeah, that sits on nicely. And you can still push the crystal out even with this bezel on here. It doesn't obstruct it. You're going to need a different die for this though, so let's have a look here. We'll see. Where's the next one down? Yeah, that'll do it. That'll push that on. Number 40 here. Thank you. Put that there. Okay. I want to make sure that's centered on it. Watch out you don't bump the camera there. Just to make sure that it's gone evenly though, I will do the 180 rotate and do it again. Since that hasn't gone on at the top here at all. Has it? Or has it? Am I just, is it an optical illusion? No, that does need to, that is an optical illusion. Gosh, what am I looking at here? Yeah, it's an optical illusion. No, it isn't. That hasn't gone on straight. Okay, so, use a bigger die then. Use the 45. And I'll see if I can get away with propping this up. Yeah, look at that. Okay. That should do it this time. Let's see. It will pop on when it's done, I'm sure of it. These things are incredibly stubborn. I'm even going to have to stand up when I do it. This is why I wish I had one of those proper ones. Might even need a pair of proper gloves for this. Because I just can't grip it. That just doesn't want to go on, does it?
Several minutes later.
Let's try this one then. We'll even give it a bit of extra thing by bringing this further down. Yes! We've got it. That is on all the way around now. And it's got a little lip in it somewhere, a little bump there. I probably should have aligned it at the 3 o'clock or something, but allows you to get some kind of tool under there to pry this thing off. Gosh, that looks cool, doesn't it? Needs to be cleaned. It's got all sorts of bits on it since I've been working on it. But yeah, I guess the next thing to do is cut the stem and put the crown on it. I didn't do it up very tight, so that'll come off easily. I grab it with the pliers so that I can screw it on as tightly as it will go. There we are. Right. Right, that's winding it. As you can see, the little lever there. Okay. So then we get the calipers. Make sure they're zeroed. And then I'm going to give just a little bit of extra distance to it. Plop that piece of plastic on it to stop dust going on it. Silly crown rolling around. This has got one on it too. Okay.
1,000 years later.
So, finally cut the stem to the correct length. That is, according to that is roughly 14.43 millimeters from tip to tip. So I would say cut it at 14.5 and then file it down. Maybe even a little more if you want to put a bit more time and be really extra careful with it. But there's the measurement for that. I'm going to say that's a bit rough because I don't know how level I've got that in there. So, going to mix up some 2-part epoxy. As you can see, I've already done it on top of this thing many times. I need to get some Loctite, don't I? But I just keep thinking, well, I've got this stuff and it's just fine. So, there you are. Gosh, that's way too much. That is way too much. Yeah, this one's gunked up a bit. That's a shame. So I grab it with the pliers. If I had a better pin vise than this thing that doesn't grab stuff properly, I would use that, but I don't. So I just grab it with the pliers, hold it nice and tight, just give it a little dip in there, so there's just a little bit on the end. Then I move that out of the way, take the crown, and screw it on, holding it very tightly so that it screws on all the way. There, that is on all the way. Then if there is any excess, I just get some Rodico here and just sort of go like that. There's a bit of excess on there. Pop it in. Yeah. You can hear the date set there. And all the way out for that. Push it all the way in. Winds the watch just fine. There we are. And then when it's all the way screwed down, almost perfect there. But yeah. Doesn't have to be perfect. I don't care about the alignment of that too much as long as it looks nice. In this bag is a brand new Caseback gasket. I'm going to use this one instead of the one I used earlier because I don't know how old that one is. I'm going to put some of this on it. But before we do that, let's take this rotor off and put this gold one on. Come on. There we are. That's coming out. Do you know what? I will change the angle for you. That has come out. It looks interesting without the rotor on it, doesn't it? Like that's on in the middle there. I wonder if I've got a slightly larger screwdriver for this. There, that's better. Look at that, that's going in. This is not the right screwdriver for the job, unfortunately. Let's see if this is large. This is large enough, definitely, but is it thin enough? Yeah, that's... should have used this one from the start. This screwdriver set here is... gosh. Probably as old as I am. Oh, you're just no good at this. You got grease on the rotor. Get grease all over the bottom of the case as well while we're at it. I think I'll put a little bit of IPA on that. There. Right, let's get this case back on before this stupid gasket decides it wants to go out on me, because it is desperately trying to get out. I haven't even checked if there's stuff under the crystal yet. Let's just use the IPA on the crystal here. Gosh, these MM300 cases that they do with the regular Caseback, they're so good. They're beautiful cases. Gosh, I love this Caseback. I love how big the piece of glass is, so you can just see all of it. These other ones here are much... You have to forgive me, I've just been wearing this, but you can see they don't show nearly as much as this one. Okay. That is in there, it's not going anywhere. There, that's nice and tight. That rotor is beautiful in there. Really nice touch. Shame that I dropped the freaking silicone greased up ring on it, but I did dab it with the IPA to try and clean it off, but good grief. Sort of white Grand Seiko Homage with the Sari 50. Oh my gosh, what's happened with the chapter ring? That's really misaligned. Well, that was a freaking blunder, wasn't it? You're gonna have to take that all out now. Oh no! You scratched it! Which means, look at that! Now you're going to have to get out the metal polish, and who knows how much metal polish you'll need for that. Yeah. Look at that scuff there from that slip. Right onto the case there too. Gosh, brand new build. Hand slips with a thing like this, and you scuff a brand new case and case back. And this was after I sat there for about 10 minutes trying to polish it with the little Cape Cod polishing cloth that I've got. To no avail. I mean, it did tidy it up a bit, but that's... every single build that I do has a mistake in it. I mean, I won't say that it takes the enjoyment out completely, but it certainly does sully the process. Oh well. Let's get this bracelet on here now. I want to size this to my wrist like my 62 mass in the MM300 case as well that I did last year. That was the big swap. Ooh, that's snappy. Listen to that. That's nice. What? And there we are, no problems taking these screws out. I've had some cheaper screw link bracelets there. The screws are pretty stubborn, but those came out nice and easy. No, that one doesn't want to go in, which is fine. I'll just swap it for this other screw here. Okay, let's see if this one wants to go in. Yeah, that one does. That one's going in just fine. Take those two links out and put them over there. Pop that screw back in. There, that is in. So now that is sized up for my wrist. So let's get my tool here. Pop these out. 1. 2. We'll use these ones here, so we'll leave these in the packet. come on. Don't make me scratch the case up. There we go. That's it. There we are. That is in. Oh, gosh. That is a stubborn thing. Look at that. That's stuck. That's bizarre how tight a fit that is. Look at that. It genuinely doesn't want to go in. That doesn't even want to go in. That is like stuck. Seriously, do you not want to go in at all? You were made for this case, were you not? That's better. So it does fit on there. It's just a bit weird. That came so close to hitting me in the eye then. That hit me in the cheek below my eye. Gosh, imagine if that had blinded me. The QC on this is rubbish. I should hope that not all the bracelets are like this. Look at this. Look at how that gets stuck in there. This other one went in fine. I'm sure some people use these for putting on the bracelets, so let's do that. And then it goes down, but it goes too far. Gosh, I've never had this much trouble with an end link fitting into a case before. It's bizarre. Yes. Oh my goodness. It did fit, but that was one of the most difficult end links I've ever had to get in. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but I'm sure that they must QC these things and test fit them on cases, but I guess there is a variance. We're talking minuscule variance between parts and cases and whatnot. So if it fits up against one case just fine, then another case might not be so forgiving. However, it did go on eventually. So I did email my contact at NamokiMods and tell him about this really tight tolerance with one of these end links, and he was apologetic about it. You know, he said he was sorry that there were issues. He said that he was raising this with the team so that they can check if it's a batch issue or if it's just isolated, and he said he completely understood if I include this in the video because transparency is good for the customer. So they've received this pretty well. Besides, even though I've received all these case parts for free and they're worth quite a bit of money, that's not going to stop me being honest about the issues that I have with it. I mean, heck, I show you all of the issues and blunders that I cause, even if it makes me look like an idiot. But anyway, I do appreciate their willingness for transparency, and I've never had any issues when contacting NamokiMods. They've always been good to me, so. Namoki logo on the clasp. Oh my goodness gracious. Let's have a zoom out, shall we? That is gorgeous, isn't it? Gosh, that Sorry 55 dial is beautiful. I've waited a long time to do one of these. For months I've been looking for this dial. These MM300 cases are really nice looking, aren't they? Look at that. What's the date today? I'll set the time and date. It is the 16th of August. It's the 16th. Okay, so it's the 16th of August. So I'll set it to the 15th. And it's a Tuesday, so I'll set it, gone past it, there we are, Monday, and as soon as that gets to the 12 o'clock, oh, that crown feels nice, And it's 456. 2, 4, 50, 5, 6. But, okay. It winds just fine. When you screw it all the way in, it looks like that. That's beautiful, and I'm loving that big wide open case back with the gold rotor on there. It really just adds a bit of, you know, extra flourish to it. Gosh, let's put that back on wrist. Ooh, that is a nice, you can tell that's a new clasp. It's very, oh my goodness. Yeah. So if you fancy yourself a Grand Seiko, but you'd rather build something yourself and save some money in the process, this is not too shabby. This Sari 55 dial and these Dauphine hands, the chapter ring. And if you didn't want to go for the 55 dial, you could go for the 57 dial, the black one with a black chapter ring. Yeah, so that is gorgeous. I think that would equally look nice with the simpler chapter ring in there, but I love all the extra detail on here. It really gives that sort of Sari feel, but it's in a bigger, chunkier case. I don't know, I think this is a nice little homage to a Grand Seiko. Anyway, I'll tidy all this stuff up because I'm going to do an experiment here that involves a 5-link bracelet. So let me show you what I mean. This is a 5-link bracelet. It's a cheap one, very cheap. I think this was like maybe 10 quid? Why don't we have a look at the price? It was 15 quid. It's cheap, it's lightweight, you can feel that it's not a premium bracelet, especially with this clasp. However, I should be able to change this clasp. These are the end links. So you've got a nice defined middle link that's raised up with the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections on it to match the 5 links on the actual bracelet. That almost fits. It has that Grand Seiko look to it with this 5-link bracelet. And so, obviously, my recommendation to NamokiMods is make a 5-link bracelet. If these guys, whatever factory's producing these, this is a cheap 5-link bracelet, and it is a true 5-link. There are 5 links here. It's not carved links out of the middle link. It is actually 5 pieces of metal. If they can make these for cheap, I think you can definitely make some of these at a higher quality with a nice milled clasp, with end links that look just like this, with the nice defined middle link and the 5 sections with the 2 polished bits and the nice satin brushing. And it would just set this off. As you can see, I mean, just straight away that looks cool. And what my goal is for this little experiment, as you can see, I've bent this to make it fit. If you look there, there's the shape of it after I've bent it. And there it is out of the box, much more compressed. So I'm going to try and modify this end link here to better fit this Namoki case. And if I'm successful, I will do the same thing to this one. So although I've already bent this one, I'll show you how I did it by doing it to this one. And if all goes well, it will serve as a great example of what an actual 5-link Grand Seiko style bracelet could and would look like on the NamokiMods MM300 case. So let me show you what I did to it to get it to fit and to look like this. So I have actually managed to get it to go in. It does. It bumps into it. So I'm pretty sure that is in, because if I grab this and try and pull it, that's not going anywhere. I guess the next thing to do is to take this other one here, bend all these pieces. I'm going to bend these top ones upwards just a little bit, bend these ones downwards, and then bend the teeth outwards so we can fit the spring bar in and try again. Pinch this in the cloth, then just gently tilt it upwards by just twisting this, but with the force of my whole hand, just twisting it upwards. And then doing the same thing to this side from the corner. Just twisting. There, they're looking very similar. Let's see how it fits. I guess now it's time to finally take this off here, which was the one that I struggled to get on. So, needs to be bent a lot more. Let's see how that looks. It's not bad. I'd say that's it. I'm just filing the tips of this top bit. Just here. To get these corners just a bit shorter. So now these top corners are just slightly rounded. It's not really a big deal, to be honest. It just, yeah, lessens the gap a little bit. That's fine. So this is ready now. I just need to bend these teeth. So I say it's ready. No, it isn't. Yeah, see, using this Phillips head version just gives me a bit more leverage to actually get it in there, because I can't even get the pliers in there yet. Now I should be able to get this in here. No. Oh, just about. There. We've actually got that in there. That's bent that upwards. We'll do the same thing on this side. We'll just try and angle that in. This is the kind of work that if you do it without gloves on, which I'm doing here, if this screwdriver slips, you'll slice your hand open. If in several videos of mine in the past you've ever seen I've got random cuts on my fingers, it's because of things like that. Maybe protect yourself better than I do. There you go. This screwdriver is now in there. There, that's bent. That's bent nicely. Let's see if this fits. Yeah, that goes in just fine. Might have to bend it further forward if we find the spring bar just doesn't quite move to where we need it to line up with the case. Please don't slip and stab yourself. Look at this thing. It's literally, you could probably skewer a corn on the cob with this. I wouldn't recommend it, no. So, now that I've pushed this side in, that is definitely in, we can now try and finagle this side into position. Took me like 20 minutes to do this with the other side, off camera. I'm like precariously holding the screwdriver here, tilting it. I'm going to attempt to get this tool here and poke it in the other side to push it. I don't think that's going to do it. This thing again, this thing seems to be the best thing for the job. Just keep massaging it until it decides to spring into place. This side here, it lines up with the case now. That's because I just took this and just pressed it against the side of the desk and just pushed it down. I'm pushing pretty much with the weight of my body. So after what is probably an hour's worth of, probably more than an hour to be honest, bending and trying to force these pins in, I've actually managed to get them to go in. So these end links are now secured to this case. I've actually got a milled clasp that I can put on here to replace this pressed one. Because again, this thing was only 15 quid, so it's cheap, as you can tell by the hollow end links. But considering they are hollow end links, it's nice that they have this chunky piece attached onto the outside to give the illusion of a much nicer piece. I also like to keep hold of this stuff here, because I like to wrap up the extra links in it to keep them protected. Gosh, you can feel how lightweight that is. It's such a shame that they're making this out of such poor material. So you can tell that it's actually 5 links, look. Because these, they are separate. Again, these are just push pins, they're not pin and collar. I should be able to just push this against the desk, let's see. Yeah, just push it against the side of the desk and that pushes it back in, and then you can... There, that's it, that's gone in. Right, I'll take off 2 from the other side as well. There we are. It's coming off quite easily. 2 links there. Might need to take off an extra one, we'll see. There we are, and I'm just going to push that against the side of the desk again. There, that's gone straight in. That's gone in all the way. So let's pop this on the actual bracelet. So this actually comes with flat end links, so I'll just push those out. There we are. That's one. Again, the little cross, the little splits in them are on this side, so I'll push it in from this side. And then push it in on the desk again. And there we are. There it is. Does it fit my wrist? Let's find out. Do you know what? It's not horrible. Gosh, I wish I had more sunlight coming in the window. So, I've actually managed to warp and bend this to fit the case quite well. It's just a shame this bracelet's a bit rough around the edges because in spite of the fact that it has hollow end links, they look really nice from the top, you know, because of this separate section. It's not the best fit. Then again, we know that it's not designed for this case. Yeah. Little gap there on either side, as you can see. But you know what? That is the Grand Seiko look, isn't it, with that 5-link bracelet. So yes, after that long experiment, chances are I will probably still go back to this because this is just a superior bracelet to this one. This, you can feel how cheap this is. Looks wise, it's stunning. And I think NamokiMods, you guys really need to make a true 5-link bracelet for these MM300 cases with the nice defined end lug and true 5-link with the 5 pieces with a nice milled clasp on there, because this look is a winner. It really does. That Grand Seiko look. Gosh, I'm sorry about the lighting. It's terrible, isn't it? That is not half bad for a 15 quid bracelet. Yes, I had to pretty much mangle the ends, and it's not a perfect fit. You can sort of see a little seam there. I do like the taper on this one though. I think if you did make a bracelet like this for these cases, you could have it the same taper as this one, but with the actual 5 links. Because that, again, when you look at that, that is very Grand Seiko-esque, isn't it? Very sort of Seiko Presage, you know, the high-end line of watches. Yeah, the bracelet feels very lightweight, a bit rough around the edges. Yeah, and when you put it on, you can really feel it. It sort of gently scuffs at your wrist as you put it on. I'll wear this for a few days, and then we'll do the conclusion, which will be no time at all for you. So there it is, the homage to a Grand Seiko, the full build, not a mod of a homage watch. First of all, I just want to thank NamokiMods again for sending these parts over. I probably would have shelved this build for a lot longer if they hadn't been so generous, so thanks again, you made this build possible. And if you want to build one of these yourself, I'll put affiliate links to all the parts in the video description. I will put a link to the dial, but you know, maybe months later down the line, if you see this video, you might find the dial isn't in stock anymore, but for the time being, I will put it in the video description so that if they do have any in stock, you can get them. I am floored by how gorgeous this looks. Ever since I did the 62 mass build last year in the big swap, I was always curious, what would a pilot's bezel look like on a chunky MM300 case like this? Is it going to be too much? Because, you know, the Grand Seikos have a slimmer sort of bezel, even if it is that polished steel bezel. And yet, this looks awesome. It just has that Grand Seiko dress look to it. These MM300 cases are just so cool, seriously. Just a word of warning though, if you were thinking maybe I'll do one of these in the monoblock cases, yeah, don't do that. It's front loaded, so you'd have to pop off the pilot's bezel to get at the stuff inside, and they're not really meant to come off. They can come off, they've got a little groove in them that allows you to get them off. That's why I went for this one, because it has the regular caseback. Speaking of that, I'm loving this wide open, lower profile caseback. It's really nice. You know, you've got a nice big piece of glass on there so you can really see the movement in there. And these rotors that NamokiMods have, these gold ones, absolutely beautiful. Even just the simplistic pattern on this of the straight lines going down and the sort of the finishing in between them, it just sets it off. It looks beautiful. In fact, part of me, even though I have the Heimdallr mod and a Sari 57, part of me wants to build an exact duplicate of this with my spare Sari 57 dial and a black chapter ring, because I am absolutely floored by how good this case looks with a pilot's bezel on it in that dress watch fashion. Gosh, it's such a good looking watch, it really is. I think this would look incredible with that black Sari 57 dial if you did a black version of this. Seriously, this MM300 case with a dress watch styling to it is such a good combination, especially because the bracelet for this MM300 case starts at 20mm and tapers down, so it has that sort of dress watch look to it when you're wearing it. If you were to build one of these yourself, you could customize it, you know, you could put in your own chapter ring with maybe some color flourishes on it and then put on an interesting second hand, or do what I did in my previous video where you could dip the second hand in color of your choice to match the chapter ring that you've picked, just to give it that little extra pop. I personally went for the more plain look with this one where it's just all silver and white. And I went for the detailed chapter ring here because I wanted to emulate the Saabs and the Sari watches, opposed to the simpler chapter ring in, say, the Grand Seiko watches. Like, I have one here. I looked at the detailed one and I thought, I just like the style of it. It looks more interesting, so that's why I went for this one. But I did say that I would show you this simple chapter ring, so here's a really good look at it where I properly put it in the case, you know, crystal and everything. Leave a comment on the video, which one of these chapter rings do you prefer, detailed or simple? And now, last but not least, this is the 5-link bracelet that I experimented on earlier. I've saved the best for last here because although the quality of the bracelet sucks, it looks phenomenal. NamokiMods, please make a 5-link bracelet for this case. I can't find a bracelet like this anywhere for this case besides this cheap thing I've put on here. Seiko mods don't have one, strap code don't have one, although apparently these strap codes don't fit the Namoki case, which is why I haven't bothered trying them. I also had a look on Uncle Seiko and I couldn't find anything there either. And if you're wondering, no, these Heimdallr MM300 bracelets do not fit the NamokiMods MM300 case. The spring bars just don't line up. You do sometimes see 5-link bracelets pop up on AliExpress watches like this Pagani Design one, for example, which is based off of a Grand Seiko. But if Pagani Design can do something like this, I think it would be great if NamokiMods could do this, at least for this MM300 case, because as you can see, this approximation of it looks phenomenal. So please, NamokiMods, think about it. Anyway, I think I've waffled on enough, so thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this one because this is probably one of my favourite builds and you don't see that many Grand Seiko dress watch mods out there, so I thought, you know, it'd be fun to do one of those. Again, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.